Welcome to VERSED, the Ascap podcast. I'm Eric Philbrook. Happy spring, everyone. I hope the sun is shining and the flowers are in full bloom wherever you are. Today, we're going to do something a little different with this episode and respond to the latest wave of racial animus happening in the United States. Over the last year, in a series of incidents with clear racist intent, people from Asian communities have been attacked, called slurs, discriminated against, and had their homes vandalized. And these terrible episodes have spanned generations and regions. Ascap is a gloriously diverse family of music creators from all backgrounds, all over the world, and our Asian American songwriters and composers continue to create some of the most beloved, profound, and successful music of our time. So, in this episode, we decided to invite a group of members from the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities to give voice to their heritage, how it has impacted their music, and their feelings and insight into this eruption of hate and ignorance in our time. To help set the stage for us, my co-host today is one of my favorite colleagues, Ascap Associate Director of Membership Brian Reyes, who has extensive experience not only as a music creator and performer himself, but also working for several years at Ascap in both our film, TV, and pop rock music departments. And, if his Instagram feed is any indication, he's also a Jedi in the kitchen. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, Eric.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This is a different situation for us to be in, having a conversation like this. But it's great to see you. It's great to hear you. You're on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, and usually our paths don't meet. But you are a sight for sore eyes.
You are too. It's always nice to hang out with you, even virtually, Eric.
I know a little bit about your history. Why don't you fill us in on some details of your past experience as it relates to music, and what led you to your current gig at Ascap?
Absolutely. So I guess I would start in college. I went to school at Loyola Marymount University here in LA for recording arts. So I graduated with a recording arts degree. But when I was in senior year of college, I was in the band actually with my brother, Ed Reyes, who is a former Ascap colleague of Eric too. Yeah. And also in the music industry. And we had a band together called The Little Ones, a band that we started with our friends, really our family. And senior year, it was during MySpace days, 2004 to 2006. So we were actually wanting to record some demos, and lo and behold, just to play a gig here in LA to try to get a gig. So we decided to record those demos and we put them up on MySpace. And all of a sudden, there was a blog that picked up the music. And next thing you know, we started getting a bunch of emails from random record labels, both here in the States, but mainly actually in the UK. And I basically, my dream came true. I wanted to always play music and be on the stage for a living. And we were able to get a recording contract my senior year. So my first technical job after graduating was to go on tour in Europe and make records and make albums for Astroworks and Heavenly Records, which was one of my favorite record labels at the time. They've got acts like Doves, Magic Numbers, Primal Scream. So it was a dream come true, and I did that for about 5 years, and then got to do a lot of cool things. Playing arenas with the Kaiser Chiefs, being on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And at the time, thinking, we were kind of the first Asian American fronted rock band to be on TV. So that was kind of my first foray into music, is playing in a band and doing that for a living.
Right. And so how did your heritage, your background affect, how you felt about yourself as a music creator, or obviously LA is a real melting pot of people from all over the place. How did that feel to be in a band out front and being at such a level where you're getting this exposure like that?
Well, going to the UK was there was a lot of interesting things, right, that would happen. I think, first of all, it was a time where there was not a lot of representation in terms of Filipino Americans in Europe in terms of the media. So a lot of times we'd be going and doing press and doing radio shows over there, and they'd refer to us as Chinese or refer to us as a completely different nationality. And we'd have to kind of educate people a little bit. And first of all, they would also not think that we were actually from the United States. They would think that, we were from Asia or something, but we had to let them know that, we were born and raised in Los Angeles. That's what's in our blood. And we're representing Los Angeles as much as we're representing, the Philippines and, our heritage.
Right. So when this recent spate of attacks started surfacing, how did that feel to you? Like, was it something that you were aware of, this sort of thread in our culture throughout your life, and just this recent sort of awareness from a larger group of people, realizing like, wow, this is horrible, but in your experience, you probably, it probably wasn't that far off from what's been happening without the headlines.
Absolutely. It's interesting because growing up in LA, I think we were a little bit spoiled, right? Because you alluded to the fact that LA is a melting pot. So I think there was a lot less explanation growing up about where we came from. And honestly, I didn't have to deal with as many overt, acts of racism or misrepresentation. But I would say when we went on tour, for instance, middle of the country, other parts of the country that were more rural, we'd stop at a Whataburger and people would start yelling Jackie Chan or, doing Kung Fu moves when we come out of the tour van. So sadly, when I started hearing about the stories that were stemming from the pandemic and the incidents that were happening, they kind of snapped me back to some of those experiences.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were not violent in the same way that we've been seeing, but they were the feeling of feeling less than and small and being an other. I could definitely relate to that. And it really struck a nerve, and it still does. It really does. Especially the one thing I can't get down with is when people also mistreat our elders.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that hooks into our culture too. As Asian Americans, we have a big value on family and respect for our elders. So the fact that all these incidents were targeting people who are a little bit more elderly, that was something that really, really struck home for me.
Yeah. That some of those news and the images are so shocking. But I guess in this time where everyone is glued to our screens, we're all at home, we're looking at our feeds and watching TV more than usual. I guess the one positive thing that might be coming out of this is that, the response to all of this has been so immediate and so widespread. And I think our community especially really responded, almost immediately and in the best way. Why do you think songwriters, artists are so effective in battling this sort of hate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're effective because of the audience that they have and the reach of music, especially I think in the times we're in right now. I think people are more apt to be listening to music because there's less distraction. Obviously, the country's opening up a little bit more, so there's going to be other forms of entertainment that will take people's attention away, maybe from music. But for me, I think the folks that are from the Asian American Pacific Islander community who are musicians, the Mitskis of the world, the Stephanie Poetries of the world, even the BTSs of the world, they have a platform that is also driven a lot by their social media presence.
Right.
And some of the messaging and calls to action that they've amplified through their social media, that's been super effective because of the fandom. And I'm just really proud to see all of those folks rising up and saying enough's enough. A good example is Milk being in the media and talking about this. Like, that is kind of what you need to do, is you need to get the message out there about us not standing for this injustice and ways that people from the other parts of the communities, different communities, can be allies and help out. So I think that's one of the great things about music creators is that they have the platform for change. They can do it through their actual craft. They can do it through the music that they create, but they can also do it through their fandom and the audiences that have their ear.
Right. So Ascap has a site, a resource site that we've been creating and building over the past year. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and why it's so valuable?
Absolutely. So the cool part about working at Ascap and why I love my job is the fact that the company puts a big value on social justice and just doing what's right when it comes to things that are happening in the world. And we put together this resources for change site, which basically gives you specific links to get involved in basically helping other people. One of them being the Stop Asian Hate movement. So there's going to be links there for pledging your support monetarily. There's a link there for actually getting bystander intervention training, which is super helpful. Like it basically a way for you to get some tools if you see your elder being messed with on the street. What do you do? What are some actions that you can take that are safe but effective? And then we also have an awesome ASCAP member, William Yip, who's putting his money where his mouth is. He puts together an amazing auction of one-of-a-kind memorabilia that all the proceeds are going to go to help the people that need the help to be able to be protected. So all these links, they're all available on the ASCAP website. I think we can probably link a URL, but that's one of the cool things we're doing at ASCAP.
That's great. You've been so helpful in helping us for this episode reach out to some members of the Asian American community, including William Yip, who we will hear from shortly. How open and enthusiastic were these members to helping us out in helping to spread the word on this?
They were very eager, which made me really proud. I think that there is a general sense of misrepresentation, underrepresentation of the community in music. And by music, I'm looking at it from the pop rock lens.
Right.
There's so many talented musicians out there, but their stories aren't being heard. So as soon as I reached out to some of the folks that you'll hear from on this podcast, they were eager to talk about their story, their journey, and what makes them so proud to be from the community. So it was an immediate response, and like I said, it just made me very proud to be part of the community.
Well, thanks again for all of your help on that. And on a final personal note, I've noticed in your Instagram feed some amazing dishes which look like they were created in a nice restaurant somewhere, but you obviously have some talents in the kitchen as well. Is there a favorite recipe from your childhood that that you'd want to share with me?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the things that you'll never feel is hungry growing up in a Filipino household if the parents can help it. And one of the things I learned from a young age is chicken adobo, which is, I think, kind of getting its shine now in food media. But yeah, basically you take some chicken thighs, you take equal parts soy sauce, equal parts vinegar. If the vinegar you can get is called Datu Puti, which is the #1 brand in the Philippines, that's even better. Throw some peppercorns and a couple of bay leaves in there and simmer it. You got yourself a good meal coming in about 30 minutes. So I hope everyone, tries that. That's what it's all about. It's trying to feed your ears with good music and also feed your belly with some good food.
Sounds good to me. And I'll try that recipe as soon as I can. So thanks again, Brian, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Eric. Always good to see you.
Yep. Take care. If you want to check out Ascap's Resources to Fight for Change website, visit ascap.com/fight for change. Now, let's hear from a chorus of voices for whom this subject really hits home. we reached out to a dynamic group of Ascap songwriters and composers from across the musical spectrum and asked them for their perspective on what it means to be an Asian American music creator today. You'll hear from Will Yip, Alex Ritchie, Amritha Vaz, Brian Warfield, Jihei Lee, Kazi, Nick Lee, Trace, and Wendy Wang. And now, I'll pass the mic over to these incredible artists.
Hi, my name is Jihei Lee. I'm a jazz composer from South Korea. I haven't really thought about being Asian. My focus isn't in finding differences between ethnicities, rather treating and being treated equally. Of course, I've experienced some racism, sexism, and other discriminations during 10 years of living in America. But I stay just as a composer, not wishing to be categorized by color, sex, and so forth. Jazz is an American art form, a historically male-dominated genre. With my background, I'm not authentic. However, to me, jazz has a liberate spirit. It accepts me as I am. It also allows me to see the music without any preconception and to create an original sound by bringing my ancestors' musical soul to jazz. Being a minority can possibly give my career more struggles, but I'm sure the effort for equality will continue and we will see the change, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
What's up, Ascap? My name is Kazi, and I'm a Chinese-American artist, songwriter, and producer from New York. I'm proud to be Asian because it's who I am, point blank period. I think one of the most important steps that we have to take as creatives is taking time to understand and love exactly who we are so that we can properly communicate that to the rest of the world. Being Asian and being multiracial have played a big part in my musical career in two ways. As a kid who grew up playing a lot of different types of music, from classical to jazz to rock and hip hop, it was difficult for me to find a space where I felt that I naturally fit. And what I realized in high school is that in the hip hop scene in New York, in my hometown, the love that you get and the support that you get are almost entirely dependent on your skill alone, regardless of what you look like or where you come from or what your background is, whatever. So in one way, being Asian steered me toward the type of music I make now and the community that comes with it. As a kid, not seeing a ton of popular artists that look like me, or even older artists in my own scene that look like me, was daunting. It was scary. But now the idea that I could be one of the first people that looks like me to do any number of things is really exciting. That's super dope to me. And it's become a real motivating force in my career, because when I look at my bucket list of things I want to get done, to me, that's become a list of opportunities to make history, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Hi, my name is Amritha Vaz, and I'm a composer, and my family is originally from India. The thing I'm most proud of when I think of my South Asian heritage or being a person of South Asian descent is that I think of my community as a community that does not give up. It embodies perseverance, resilience, ingenuity, and innovation, and that's something that I take a lot of pride in. When I think of how my South Asian heritage has influenced me as an artist, I think to how I see the South Asian experience, which is that of multiplicity. India is a place that embodies contradictions, and there are multitudes. It's the opposite of a melting pot because nothing melts. And as a result, that has resulted in people fighting against each other, but has also resulted in people embracing a harmonious coexistence. And this complexity is something that was not shown back to me in the world when I was growing up. I realized that there was a very narrow box of what it was to be me as a South Asian. I saw that in film and TV, that there was a very lazy shorthand to refer to a character of my descent. And it both made me cringe and feel invisible. And I think as an artist, I want to challenge myself to always seek out the complexity and to dig deeper, to do the hard work of finding the deeper story, the bigger story, the things that aren't as obvious. Because even if I can't see it at first, I know that there is a deeper story, and it's up to me to find it.
Hey guys, my name is Nick Lee. I am a Chinese and Japanese American music producer, songwriter, and TV and film composer. I'm most proud to be Asian American because I'm continuing the legacy that my family has built over time, starting when my gung on my mom's side first immigrated to the States in, I think, 1939. He came over as a paper son, and if you don't know what a paper son is, I would highly recommend to Google that. It's a very important part of, well, specifically Chinese American history, and how they immigrated here. Anyways, that's kind of where my whole path to music production started. Actually, when my gung passed away, about 5 or 6 years ago, that's when I first started to learn how to produce, and I actually tried to produce a little song for the memorial service. So at that moment, I was, full of emotions, and I had just discovered this new creative outlet. And I think I just had like an epiphany that this is what I want to do. So I just decided to go full-fledged into music production. And just talking about being an Asian, I think in the entertainment industry as a whole, it's a conversation that has ups and downs. I think there's definitely a lack of representation. Like it's rare to find someone who looks like me who's also producer songwriter. And when you do find someone, I feel like there's kind of almost like an unspoken shared bond, that we always want to help each other out and lift each other up, which I think is great. At the same time, you can view the lack of representation as as a limitation, as like the bamboo ceiling. But what I've been working on this year is to turn that into a strength, is to use it to my advantage. Realizing that not being many, or the fact that there aren't that many of us, means that we stand out more, and we're more easily identifiable, and it makes us more unique. It's almost like a calling card almost. At the same time, I've been diving more into my heritage and like connecting with more Asian artists. Like I started doing a bunch more K-pop stuff, which it's been helpful, and it's just cool to work with more people on the global scale. I think it's tough to go to learn in an industry that there aren't that many of you. There aren't that many people that look like you, and there's no really model for success. I just think that that's really what inspires me to work harder, and to it kind of lights my fire to succeed and achieve more things, so I could be the representation that the future generations will have and be inspired by. So that's what makes me proud to be Asian, and that's what really inspires me to keep going.
Hey, I'm Ritchie, artist, songwriter, and producer, born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I'm half Filipina and part Japanese, and one of the things I'm most proud of as a person of Asian descent is the fact that I come from a long line of incredibly resilient people. Whether it's my grandfather, who was in a Japanese American internment camp during World War II, or my family back home in the Philippines, who have not only been able to survive, but thrive despite the oppressive conditions they've experienced and endured over the course of their history. Being an Asian American has definitely had an impact and has definitely affected my career in the music industry. I got into this in 2008, and it was a very different time. There was definitely a lot less opportunity. And though I've heard the calls for diversity get louder and louder and louder over the last few years, I know that we still have so much more work to do. But I am really excited to see a lot of the inclusion initiatives that are rolling out, especially the inclusion of Asian Americans in media and entertainment. And I'm looking forward to continuing to push that envelope so that more of our voices, more of our stories, and more of our work can really, truly be seen and heard.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Brian Warfield. I am a music producer out of Los Angeles, California, one half of the production duo Fisticuffs. My ethnicity, my father is African American, and my mom is from the Philippines, Pangasinan to be exact. All right, so yeah, man, what makes me most proud about being a person of Asian descent? Well, I'm really big into culture, and knowing where I came from, knowing the deep-rooted history, and the lineage that I come from of, Filipino people, Asian people, Asian Americans. So, I take pride in that, and knowing that this is a part of me, right? This is what makes me who I am, and why I am the way that I am. Everything from, again, with culture, like food. I love Asian food, and the beautiful thing is when I say Asian food, it's not just one thing, right? It's, I love Chinese food, I love sushi and Japanese food, Filipino, Thai, just it's a wide array of different, cultures and dishes. And, to me, that's a beautiful thing. Music, for instance, we all know Asians love to karaoke, right? So, I can't personally sing, but, my love of music and, it's my profession that, I'm sure that stems from some of it too. But yeah, man, fashion and just everything, man. There's a lot of culture there. And so, I'm proud to be, from that. And it gives me a strong, sense of pride and self, knowing that. So, yeah, that's what's up. How has my Asian heritage impacted my music career? It's funny, oddly enough, the artist that I work with, Janae Aiko, she has Japanese roots, and our band, coincidentally, is all Asian players. So, her keyboard player's Vietnamese, our harp player is also Filipino. So, just within our own circle, there's like camaraderie there. And I remember, when the world was open and we were touring, we were excited to do the Asia run of the tour. And the Philippines was actually one of the stops that we did. And I remember being excited to be there because last time I visited was, I was in elementary school or something like that. So, yeah, being there, man, and being around all my folks and just, being in the motherland, it just, it was a great feeling just to be around everyone and the love that was shown and the sense of, family and community. And, shoot, speaking of family, I probably had a bunch of cousins there that I didn't even know about. But, again, just the vibe that was there, it was a great feeling, man, knowing that this is where I came from and being able to perform and the love that was received was, it was a great thing to have witnessed. And then fast forward to just recently, Disney, they shined a light on the Asian community and put out a movie called Raya, The Last Dragon. So we were actually fortunate to be a part of that as well. The other producer, Julian, and myself, we produced a song on there that Janae wrote and sang, which ended up being the closing song of the movie. So, again, being able to be a part of something that Disney put out, shining a light on the Asian community was definitely a milestone moment and something that, I'm proud to be a part of. So yeah, man, shout out to all my Asians out there. I know we're going through some tough times right now. We just had the Black Lives Matter movement. Now we're on the Stop Asian Hate movement. And it's just unfortunate that, we live in a place as great as the U.S., where we should be embraced for this melting pot of different people and ethnicities and cultures. But instead, it's just such a divide. And I feel like a lot of that comes from just lack of education and, just the upbringing. We should be, again, appreciating one another, or, each other's differences. That that doesn't make anybody better or worse than the other. It's just we're all different, but at the same time we are all one. We are all the human race, and there's no reason we should be attacked and treated differently just for the color of our skin or where we came from. It's just ridiculous that racism still exists. And again, we could just, the only way to combat that is through love and through knowledge, man, and through learning and being more cultured and appreciating again one another and the differences. And you'd be surprised, man. We're a lot more similar than you would believe. But again, man, just spread love. Teach the youth. Teach the children. Love one another, and hopefully one day we can look past a lot of this and just live in harmony and enjoy this earth while we're here. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to all my Asian community. Shout out to the world. Shout out to everybody. Much love. Take care. Peace.
Hi guys, my name is Trace and I'm a singer and songwriter. Originally from Southern California. My parents are each from different countries. My mother is from Malaysia and my dad is from Vietnam, and they both came here during the 70s. Being of Asian descent, I'm super proud of just the community I get to be a part of. Multiple ones, I guess, because I was raised mostly Vietnamese, but learning about my culture and the community around it and the language, I'm really proud of just having, I hope, a deeper sense of understanding of people and of, culture and language and food. I would say that I am so honored to use my voice in this industry, and that being of Asian heritage, I totally am impacted by it in my work that I do, in the music that I create, in the stories that I write. Everything that I write, I try to write with the most fragile, sensitive yet tender posture, because I know that I'm speaking to an audience that might recognize themselves in me, and that's a huge honor, so I hope I do that well.
Hi, my name is Wendy Wang. I'm a producer, musician, and songwriter. I'm from LA. My family's from Taiwan. Growing up, I listened to a lot of pop and alternative radio, and at home we sang karaoke, and my parents would sing the Taiwanese folk songs. My sisters and I would sing the golden oldies that were in the catalog. I also grew up singing in church, and I loved singing with people and the richness that came with singing harmony. Piano was my first instrument, but guitar was the first instrument where no one had to tell me to practice. I learned that my grandparents and their older generations went through a lot of hardship, and they were very expressive and creative in processing those experiences. And I felt very proud to know that I come from people who are creative and who sang and who drew and who wrote. So I'm excited that I can continue doing that now.
Hey guys, this is Will Yip, producer here at Studio 4, right outside of Philly. Actually, I'm not at Studio 4 right now. I'm in my home. I'm at my home rig, but I'm usually at Studio 4. I'm a producer, songwriter, instrumentalist, whatever. I just like making songs. That's all I like doing. So, yeah, I like making songs with the best possible artists. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to have this platform to kind of talk about my Asian heritage and my feelings towards my Asian heritage. I couldn't be more proud of my Asian heritage, now more than ever. But it wasn't always like that. It's sad, but it's so true with so many minority and Asian kids growing up, especially first and second generation minority people, and not exclusive to Asian. But speaking of my own experiences, being an Asian person growing up in a neighborhood filled with people that don't look like you is so tough. So tough. Because you spend so much of your childhood and your adolescence asking yourself, why can't I have those opportunities that I see other people have because of the color of their skin? Why am I getting treated differently? Why do people have expectations of me that are different than anybody else? Why can't I do what my white friends are doing? And that's so tough. And so growing up, there's so much angst towards your own heritage, and that's so sad. And no generation of kids deserves that. Every generation of kids, no matter what your color is, should feel like the world's at their hands. So feeling at such a young age that you have it different is tough. But I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I had such a strong support system. I had such strong Chinese parents that warned me at such an early age that this was going to happen, that I was going to get treated differently, that I was not going to get the same opportunities that my white friends had. So I just had to work 5 times as hard. That's how I looked at it. And I'm proud of my entire Asian heritage. I'm proud of the history. I'm proud of the culture. I'm proud of what we look like. I'm proud of everything that we truly are and not what the rest of the world perceives Asians to be or Chinese people to be. I'm proud that my parents literally left a world of comfort in China, in mainland China, swam to Hong Kong for freedom, to fly over here with just the clothes on their back, with not a single cent, with just the clothes on their back, to start a new life here. I'm so proud of that because it makes me feel if that was possible, that anything that I'm doing in music, in my life, should be a cakewalk. You know, they settled in New York City without knowing a lick of English. That makes me proud. Our history, our heritage, you know, them coming over and just grinding. They had no other option, you know. They wanted a better life for us. That was the goal. That they sacrificed their lives and their lifestyle comfort so that we had more opportunities. So it's so sad that we still had to fight for every opportunity, that we didn't have the same opportunities as my white friends or whatever. And it's just like every other minority, we all deal with this. We all deal with inequality in opportunities and obviously with racism. You know, growing up it was tough because you're treated differently. There wasn't, you know, as a kid, there wasn't one day that went by that I didn't deal with some type of racism. Rather, it was getting called a chink on the basketball courts, or rather, people had certain expectations of me because of stereotypes. So that's sad that my parents, our generation's parents, immigrated over here just for their kids to have this world of new opportunities, but yet it was still so hard. But in result, I'm so proud that they did that. I'm so proud that our greater generation taught us to fight and taught us to fight through this, and really allowed us to kind of look for the lives that we wanted for ourselves here in America. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. And of course, my heritage kind of played a role in music. It had a huge impact in music, had a huge impact in everything I did. That's what, you know, my white friends, they can't truly understand. They can't truly understand that every day you had to come to terms with your Asianness, and you knew that certain opportunities weren't for you. And POC and people of all color, you know, we share that wake up every day and we don't know what's going to be on the other side of that door and what type of opportunities we're going to miss. And that's a shame. And that's a shame. And that was definitely something that played a part in my musical path. You know, when I first started playing drums, nobody wanted to make music with a little Chinese kid. And it made sense to me. It really did. It made sense to me because I listened to the same bands that these kids around me did. You know, I listened to Nirvana, you know, I listened to Metallica, I listened to whatever, and no one looked like me. So as a kid, your goal is to be like your heroes or to sound like your heroes. Their heroes didn't look like me. It didn't look like us. So in return, it was harder because nobody wanted to play with me. Nobody wanted to play in a band with me. And you know, I'm not trying to make a sappy story about it or complaining about it. But I took what my parents taught me. I'm proud of what they taught me. I'm proud of them teaching me to fight harder and to warn me that I'm going to have to probably fight harder for what I needed in life. And my goal was just to be objectively better than everybody else. That was my goal. That was how I felt I had to work in music from a very young age, from when I was 10, playing drums for the first time with people, that I had to be better than everybody by far, just so that people can accept me in their scene, in their world. And it still didn't work all the time, you know, and that's fine. It made me to the person I am today. But the cost of entry for a person of color in a genre that's dominated by white male, you know, the cost of entry for a person of color, Asian, a cost of entry for a female in a genre dominated by white male is tough. It's tough. It's a lot. It's a lot of stress. You don't have the same opportunities as everybody else, because again, people, their history, the rock and roll history is white male. That is mostly white male. So it's kind of written in the history books that this isn't for us. You know, this isn't for an Asian kid, a little Chinese kid. But coming up, you know, I didn't give a fuck. I was always aware of that. You couldn't ignore it because it was around you everywhere. There was no representation. Even I would try to hunt for representation, and every now and then you'll find, you know, a Chief from Deftones, or, you know, Karen O, or it was so few and far between. But, you know, I didn't give a fuck. Because I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I was just gonna work 3 times as hard, 5 times as hard to get what I want, or at least to get the opportunity that I want. But yeah, I remember playing my first show. I remember playing one of my first shows I've ever played, and it was the first time I saw like an internet comment about the show, because it was like message boards and stuff, and one of the comments was, "Who is that fucking gook playing drums?" And what was sad was it didn't shock me. You know, it was like being called a chink on the basketball court when I was, you know, 10 years old, you know, daily. And I just knew that you're going to have ignorant people, and you're going to have their oppression for as long as the education isn't there. So my goal from really then on, and even before that, was to just show what I can do, and to show other POC, to show other Asian people that it's possible, that the world belongs to us too, you know, because for so long, you know, this rock music industry didn't feel like it belonged to us. In a way, it's a microcosm of this country. My parents immigrated here, and their feelings were that this country did not belong to them. It didn't belong to them. They were just here to work their asses off and to hopefully provide a life for their future children, so that they have better opportunities. But they couldn't learn English because of the opportunities given to them, or they can only find opportunities in Chinatown or whatever, and it was just a handicap. It was a handicap, and they felt like they didn't have a piece of this country, you know, because they didn't know the language, because of the way Americans perceived our people, you know, because of the race divide, you know, because of the fake model minority myth. You know, there was always this race divide, and they felt like aliens. And so in a way, in a microcosm, in a music microcosm of that is, you know, I felt like an alien most of the time, but it didn't bother me because I love music. I love making songs. I love making rock songs. I love making hip hop songs. I love making punk songs. Places, genres that you wouldn't really put one-on-one with Asian people, but I didn't care because I loved it, and I knew I could do it just as good as everybody else. So yeah, it's impacted. It was definitely at the entry point of getting started. I'm lucky enough to have positioned myself in a community, and it's such an accepting and incredibly smart and intelligent and warm and understanding community of musicians and fans even that they wanted diversity, that they love the extra culture. You know, we still have a long way to go for fully understanding each other, but I'm very grateful I got, out of college, I'm so grateful I got to work with Miss Lauren Hill, who her thing was diversity. She wanted a diverse supporting cast. We always joked around in the studio. We're like, dude, it's like the fucking UN here. We have black guys, we have guys from Haiti, we have Japanese guys, you had me, we had white guys. We had all colors, all genres, and it really made me think, oh man, this is what it's about. This is us sharing our stories and furthering what we can make together. And it was some of the best music I'll ever make in my life and ever be a part of in my life. So I'm grateful to Miss Hill for that. But yeah, I'm grateful I got very lucky with the world that I got in, because it just like I did this fundraiser recently for AAPI Community Fund, and when I hit up everyone to help, all my white friends were so fast to do it. They say they wanted to help, they wanted to stand with me, and it was really one of the first times in the music world, in the music part of my life, where I felt like my Asianness I felt like I wasn't alone in my Asianness in music. So I was so grateful for that. Yeah, I'm grateful for the great community, the musical community that I'm in right now, even though it's predominantly white, it's predominantly male, but it's changing. That's the goal, it's changing. We're talking about it, and that's the key, is that we're talking about it. And the music, the being Asian in the music industry has kind of affected me now more than ever in a quote unquote influential way. I never thought I wanted to be or wanted to be an influencer for anybody else. That wasn't my goal. All I cared about my entire life was making songs. Was making great songs with people. That's all I cared about, was the product. I was silent about my Asianness. I just wanted the work to speak for itself. But when I have young Asian kids and young minority kids coming up to me and saying that they know my story, and my story is the reason why they feel like they can do it in music, that touches my heart. That means a lot to me. And it makes everything kind of worth it, because I know, with more people getting in, with more people of color, with more Asian people, it's just making it easier for next generation. It's all going to keep happening. And if I can be a small part of that, I'm very grateful.
Well, that does it for this episode. If you want to learn more about any or all of the artists you heard today, visit ascap.com/versed. Thanks to everyone who made this episode possible. My colleague Brian Reyes for co-hosting, all of the amazing writers and composers who participated, including Will Yip, Alex Ritchie, Amrita Vaz, Brian Warfield, Jihei Lee, Kazi, Nick Lee, Trace, and Wendy Wang. Big thanks as always to Eitan Rosenblum for editorial, Rachel Choi for graphic design, Kate Cordova for social media support, Sam Hollander and Josh Edmondson for our rad new theme music, and Benjamin Keynes of Sight Sense Productions for audio and video editing. And if you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and comment on the show on your favorite streaming platform. Thanks for listening. Keep the music flowing.